So just because we get to be in a museum, I had to bring pictures. Many of you I know, a lot of you know exactly what I stand for and where I've been. I've been your judge for the last 18 years. Before that, I was your county attorney. So I've been in service to Lake County for the last 24 years. I'd like to continue to do that. I agree with what Gail said. You know, until I took the county attorney job, I changed jobs every 18 months. And in doing that, within 6 months of taking those jobs, generally I could do my job and everybody else's. I will tell you that when I became a judge, I found out that was a whole different story. And it took probably 2.5 years at least before I even felt comfortable walking from the door up to the bench, because there is so much in being a judge. And it goes well beyond anything that most of you hear. The typical stuff that you know about is we're talking about criminal justice. Criminal justice is settled law for the most part. And it depends on how you may apply it, and it depends on whether you get to sit on it. I have been being substituted off of a lot of the cases in the last, 4 years? Because the other judge sentences differently than I do. And there's a Supreme Court rule that allows a judge to pay attorney to pay $100 and then to be able to get a different judge in the course of doing that. And so in doing so, that's why you haven't seen as much of my name in some of the things that are going on. That's a right within what the Supreme Court believes is appropriate. The Supreme Court judges are not crazy about that. But I still think it's important that people are responsible and accountable. And that doesn't mean that I disagree with the idea that we need to help people, whether it's in veterans courts, whether it's in drug courts, whether it's in any of those courts that we can do. But the bottom line is those are all informal, intermediary steps. By the time you take something into district court, that's a court of last resort. That is your last trial court. Anything that goes beyond that is going to be an appellate court. And I think that when you get to that step, you ought to be serious about what you're doing. It ought to be a case that you want to bring in front. You ought to be prepared to make law. And it should be about the important things that we have. We can do the intermediary steps. The county attorney's office can do what they call deferred prosecution agreements, and they can ship cases that they believe where they ought to work with somebody to see if they can help them. And certainly meth is an issue. I mean, that's not a brand new thing. We've had drug issues here since I came as county attorney. But from my perspective, the place that I started with regard to the kinds of things that I brought to the court system was with CASA. And that's the court-appointed special advocates. Those are the folks that get in and they touch the child. The only truly innocent people we really get in the courtroom, and you know what? They never show up in the courtroom. And a lot of times the social workers don't even have time to get to them, but our advocates do. That program that I began in 2001 was fully functional when they swore in 3 volunteers at the tribal courts. So we now have it in Sanders, we now have it at the tribe, we now have it at Lake County, so that we can reach the truly innocent people. And I think that that's incredibly important. And then I would propose that we make moves to continue to try to step out, to reach out to the folks that we can address, that we can help, that do want something different done. And I guess that's what brings me to perhaps one of my favorite photographs. This gentleman is Sergeant Major Nikolai. He was my Sergeant Major when I was at Fort Lewis. He was an incredible man. I felt so spoiled. He started out in the Medical Corps and moved to the JAG Corps. He turned out at Fort Lewis, he was dad and I was mom. And so the Army had the incredible good sense to make him the Sergeant Major of the JAG Corps. So he became, and then I think he went on to become the Regimental Sergeant Major for the U.S. Army, Judge Advocate General Corps. What I think is most entertaining to some degree, and I don't know whether it's really a compliment or not, but he wrote on his picture, he said, "Kim, the most idealistic lawyer I know." And this is in his picture after he's been the Sergeant Major of the Judge Advocate General Corps. "You are a wonderful person and a great friend. You have a special gift to share. Don't ever lose those ideals, no matter what the price. Remember the chicken and the pig." And to explain what the chicken and the pig are is that his point was always that when the chicken and pig decided to have breakfast, that the chicken was committed, the pig was dedicated. Or vice versa, I'm sorry. The chicken was dedicated because they provided the eggs. The pig was committed. And so he always wanted me to never forget to be committed. And I bring that with me to you. I could have made other choices. I could have gone other places. But the most important place to me was here. And there are 3 people sitting in this audience that make that a very important place. My dad is here. He spent 40 years on Main Street. This place he loves this place like no other place. My 2 boys want to follow into the military, and I'm really, really, really proud of them. So I have been incredibly mentored through this process. I'm not talking about a lot of issues because judges don't get to do that. They have to follow the law, even if they don't like it, even if they think it ought to be otherwise. And I tell juries that all the time because you can't change that law and have it be fair. That's up to somebody else and another branch. And whether you like it, whether you think it ought to be different, whether you want to change it, judges don't do that. And that brings me to the other picture that I brought. I had the incredible good fortune to be mentored by these 2 gentlemen, Judge McNeil and Judge Turnage. You don't get much better than that. And I grew up down the hill from Gene Turnage. Gene and Eula May lived up on Hillcrest. And I had the benefit of having him out the back door where Judge McNeil was partners with him across the alley from my dad's pharmacy. And I have to admit that at 6 years old, when I hear C.B. McNeil's voice booming and he was headed over to the Ponderay for lunch, I would run back in my dad's store because that was kind of scary. But he was an incredible gift to me, to you, and to what we could do in the 20th Judicial District. He set a standard that I have tried to emulate. I hope I do. I hope I do. I'm proud. I miss him. He's been gone almost a year now. It's still tough. But I think that those are the kinds of things that you get when you spend as much time and you invest in somebody as much as you folks have. I've been here for 18 years. I want to do another 6 for you. If you want me to do that, vote for me. If not, vote for someone else. Thank you.